Welcome back to English Through Wisdom. I hope the last lesson gave you something useful to think about. It is wonderful to have you here again today. In this video, we are exploring an old saying that warns us about celebrating too soon. By the end, you will understand this proverb deeply, and you will pick up new English words. Along the way, Part 1. Picture this. You get a phone call with incredible news. Your hands are already shaking with excitement. Before you even hang up the phone, you are already planning how to spend the money, how to tell your family, how your whole life is about to change. But what if that call was never a guarantee? What if the deal was still one signature away from falling apart? Today we are going to meet a man who built an entire future on a promise that was never actually his. An old English saying tried to warn him. He just did not want to listen. Let's discover its wisdom together. Part 2. The proverb we are learning today is simple to say, but hard for many people to actually live by. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. It means this: do not celebrate a result before it truly happens. Do not spend money you have not earned yet. Do not treat a maybe as if it is a yes. Do not build your future on a promise that is still uncertain. This idea is closely connected to one of Aesop's fables, a story called The Milkmaid and Her Pail. In that old tale, a young woman carries a pail of milk on her head and daydreams about everything she will buy once she sells it. While she is lost in her daydream, she drops the pail, and the milk, along with all her plans, spills onto the ground. Word historians often trace the exact English phrase back to the 1570s, when writers began putting this idea into almost the same words we use today. The wording has changed slightly over time, but the warning has stayed exactly the same for more than 400 years. So why does this old idea still matter in a world of instant news and results shared the moment they happen? Because human nature has not changed at all. We still fall in love with good news before it is fully confirmed. We still make plans around opportunities that have not actually closed yet. This proverb is not asking us to be negative or to stop hoping for good things. It is asking us to protect ourselves from disappointment and from decisions we cannot undo. Let's watch what happens when one man forgets this simple warning. Part 3. Tom Bennett had grown up on his father's egg farm in a quiet corner of the English countryside where the mornings smelled of wet grass and hay. By the time he was 34, the farm belonged to him, along with all of its problems. The hen houses needed repair. The delivery van made a strange noise every time he turned left, and the bank account, if you could call it that, barely covered the feed bill each month. Tom's grandmother, Elsie, lived with them in the small farmhouse. She was 82 years old, sharp as a needle, and she had one habit that drove Tom mildly crazy. Whenever Tom got excited about anything, a new customer, a good harvest, a lucky sale, Elsie would look up from her knitting and say, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch, love." Tom would laugh it off every time. "Grandma, I know, he would say. "You've told me that since I was 6. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, everything changed." Tom's phone rang while he was cleaning the hen house. The voice on the other end was smooth and confident. Mr. Bennett, my name is Richard Hale. I'm a regional buyer for Fresh Fields Markets. We're looking for a local supplier for our free-range eggs across the whole county, and your farm came highly recommended. Tom's heart began to race. Fresh Fields was not a small shop. It was a supermarket chain with dozens of stores. We'd want a steady weekly supply, Richard continued. Honestly, Tom, this is practically a done deal on our end. I just need to sort out some final paperwork, and we can get you started within the month. Tom hung up the phone and stood there for a moment, staring at the muddy field outside the window, imagining it full of hundreds more hens. That night he told his wife, Sarah, everything. Practically a done deal, Sarah repeated slowly. Tom, that's not the same as a signed contract. He basically promised it, Sarah. This is the chance we've been waiting for. Elsie, sitting quietly in the corner with her tea, said nothing, but Tom noticed the look on her face, the same look she always gave him, right before her favorite warning. Over the following weeks, Tom did not wait for paperwork. He took out a loan to build 3 new hen houses. He hired 2 workers to help manage the bigger flock. He bought a second delivery van, a newer one, with the Fresh Fields delivery schedule already in mind. He even quit his part-time job at the local garage, the job that had quietly kept the family afloat during slow seasons. We won't need it anymore, he told Sarah, with a confidence that made her both hopeful and nervous. Every few days, Tom called Richard for updates. Almost there, Richard would say cheerfully. These things take time on our end. Head office has to review the numbers. But don't worry, it's happening. Tom believed him completely. He had already imagined the sign. He would hang at the farm gate, official supplier to Fresh Fields Markets. Then, one bright Thursday morning, Richard called to schedule the final meeting, the one where the contract would finally be signed. Tom drove to the meeting with his own paperwork, already filled out and signed, his hands almost shaking with excitement, the same excitement he had felt the very first phone call. He walked into the small office at Fresh Fields headquarters, smiling, ready to shake hands. Richard's face told him something was wrong, before he even said a word. Tom, I'm really sorry, Richard began, but head office went a different direction. There's a larger supplier that can offer us a much lower price at higher volume. We're going with them instead. The room went quiet. But you said it was practically a done deal, Tom said, his voice barely above a whisper. I know, and I understand this is frustrating, Richard replied. But nothing was ever officially signed on our end. I'm sorry, Tom. Tom drove home in silence, the new hen houses passing by outside his window, the loan payments already due at the end of the month, the 2 new workers he now had to pay, the old garage job he no longer had. When he walked into the farmhouse, Sarah took one look at his face and knew everything before he said a single word. That night, Tom sat alone in the kitchen, staring at a stack of unpaid bills. Elsie shuffled in quietly and sat down across from him. He waited for her to say it, the words he had heard 100 times before. I told you so. Instead, she reached over and gently touched his hand. When I was young, she said softly, my own mother lost our family's savings. trusting a man's word instead of his signature. It's not that promises are always lies. Love. Is that even honest people sometimes cannot keep what they promise. That's why we wait for the egg to hatch before we call it a chicken. For the first time in weeks, Tom did not feel angry. He felt something closer to understanding. Took nearly 2 years for Tom to recover. He sold one of the vans. He slowly paid off the loan. He took his old job at the garage back for a while, without any shame in doing so. But something inside him had changed permanently. The next time a large buyer called with an exciting offer, Tom listened carefully, thanked them warmly, and said the same sentence every time. "Send it to me in writing, and I'll sign it the same day." Some buyers respected that. Others disappeared, which told Tom everything he needed to know. Slowly, carefully, he built the farm back up, this time with signed agreements, smaller contracts he could actually trust. Above the farm gate today, where he once imagined a fresh field sign, there hangs a small wooden plaque instead, carved by his own hands. Simply says, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch." Part 4. Let's slow down and really look at what happened to Tom and why. Tom did not fail because he was foolish, or lazy or careless with his farm. He failed because he treated a spoken promise as if it were a guaranteed fact. He built his entire future, his loans, his staff, his family's security, on words that were never written down and never officially confirmed. This is exactly what the proverb warns us about. The eggs in Tom's story are not just eggs. They represent every result we have not yet earned, every deal that has not yet closed, every yes that could still quietly become a no. In modern life, this happens more than we admit. We celebrate a job interview, as if the job is already ours. We spend money from a sale, before the buyer has actually paid. We announce big plans online, before anything is truly confirmed. The lesson is not that we should stop hoping, or stop dreaming, or stop trying. Tom was right to feel excited about a real opportunity. His mistake was acting as if excitement was the same as certainty. There is a difference between believing something might happen and building your life as if it has already happened. So here are a few questions worth sitting with for a moment. Have you ever made big plans around something that was not fully confirmed? Have you ever spent money, time, or emotional energy on an outcome that later fell apart? And if you have, what did that experience end up teaching you in the same way it eventually taught Tom? Part 5. Here are some useful words from today's story. Guarantee, noun. Something promised as certain to happen. Example: a phone call is not a guarantee. Only a signed contract is. Cautious, adjective. Careful and unwilling to take unnecessary risks. Example: after his loss, Tom became far more cautious with new offers. Assume, verb. To believe something is true without real proof. Example: Tom assumed the deal was finished before it actually was. Collapse, verb. To fail or fall apart suddenly. Example: the entire agreement collapsed just 1 day before signing. Devastated, adjective. Extremely upset or shocked by something painful. Example: Tom felt devastated when Richard canceled the deal. Invest, verb. To put money into something, hoping for a future benefit. Example: Tom invested his savings into new hen houses. Confirm, verb, to make certain that something is true or official. Example, always confirm a deal in writing before making big changes. Warning, noun, something that tells you about possible danger ahead. Example, Elsie's words were a warning that Tom chose to ignore. Rebuild, verb, to build or repair something again after damage. Example, it took 2 years for Tom to rebuild his finances. Verbal, adjective, spoken rather than written down. Example, a verbal promise can be broken far more easily than a written one. Resilient, adjective, able to recover well after a difficult experience. Example, Tom proved resilient, slowly rebuilding his farm from nothing. Trust, noun or verb, a strong belief in someone's honesty or reliability. Example, Tom learned to trust paperwork more than promises. Part 6. Today we learned an old proverb, don't count your chickens before they hatch. We watched Tom lose almost everything by trusting a promise, instead of waiting for real confirmation. And we learned that hope is not the problem. Timing is. Celebrate when something is truly certain, not simply because it feels close. If you enjoyed learning English through this ancient saying, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might need this wisdom today. Until next time, keep learning English and keep collecting wisdom from around the world.